Dr. Minho Kim looked out of the transport ship's window as they came closer to the medical station. The huge structure floated in space like a metal flower with many arms reaching out. Behind it, the gas giant Thyro spun slowly, its orange and red clouds swirling in endless patterns. Minho had dreamed of working at Station Epsilon 7 for years. It was the best medical research center in the galaxy, where the smartest doctors and scientists from 12 different alien species worked together. "First time at a multi-species station?" asked the pilot, a friendly, blue-skinned Altarian with 4 arms. "Yes," Minho said, pressing his nose against the cool glass. "I still can't believe they accepted me." The pilot laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Humans are rare out here. Most aliens are curious about your species. You should do fine." When Minho's ship docked, he grabbed his single bag and walked through the airlock. The station's main corridor was wide and filled with beings he had only seen in textbooks. Tall gray creatures with long necks walked past shorter, furry aliens with big eyes. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that each species needed to breathe. Nara Choi was waiting for him at the reception desk. She was the only other human Minho could see, and her friendly smile made him feel less nervous. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the station's standard blue uniform. "Dr. Kim, welcome to Epsilon 7, she said, shaking his hand. "I'm Nara, the communications officer. I've been here for 6 months now." "Thank you," Minho said. "How do you like it here?" "It's amazing," Nara said, leading him down a corridor lined with windows showing the stars outside. "Though it takes some getting used to. The gravity is a bit lighter than Earth, and some of the aliens have very different ways of doing things." They passed a group of tall, stick-thin creatures with multiple eyes. One of them looked at Minho and made a series of clicking sounds. Nara's translation device beeped. "He says welcome and that he hopes you can help with the research," Nara explained. Minho's new lab was on level 7 in the xenobiology section. It was bigger than his old lab on Earth with equipment he had only dreamed of using. Through the lab's windows, he could see other sections of the station where different species worked on various projects. "The main research here focuses on something called the Withering Plague," Nara explained as she showed him around. "It's been killing aliens from many different species for the past 5 years. No one knows what causes it or how to stop it." "What are the symptoms?" Minho asked, pulling on a lab coat. "The victims slowly lose energy and their bodies start to break down at the cellular level," Nara said sadly. "We have patients in the medical wing right now. It's heartbreaking to watch." After Nara left, Minho spent the rest of the day setting up his equipment and reading research files. The Withering Plague was worse than he had imagined. It affected at least 8 different alien species, and no treatment had worked so far. The victims would become weak. Then their organs would start failing one by one. Most died within 3 months of showing the first symptoms. That evening, Minho went to the station's cafeteria for dinner. The large room was divided into sections for different species, each with their own type of food and atmosphere. He found the human section, which was small but comfortable. Besides Nara, he met Jiho Park, who worked with the station's computer systems, and Soman Lee, an engineer who maintained the station's machinery. "How many humans work here?" Minho asked as they shared a meal of Earth food that had been shipped to the station. "Just the 4 of us now," Jiho said. He was a quiet man with thick glasses who spoke carefully. There was another human doctor, but she left last month. Said the work was too depressing. Soman was different from the others. She had short hair and calloused hands from working with tools. "I like it here," she said. "The alien technology is incredible. I learn something new every day." Over the next week, Minho threw himself into his work. He studied tissue samples from plague victims and ran countless tests. The disease was unlike anything he had seen before. It seemed to attack the very foundation of life in the affected cells, but he could not find what caused it. Strange things began to happen around the station, though Minho was too busy to notice at first. Jiho mentioned that the computer systems were running more smoothly than usual. Nara said that the usually grumpy Vorthak researchers in Section 3 had become friendlier and were working better together. Even the cafeteria staff seemed happier. "Maybe it's just a good month," Soman suggested when they talked about it over dinner. But Jiho shook his head. "I've been tracking the station's efficiency reports. Everything has improved since we all arrived. Equipment breaks down less often, communication between species is smoother, and even the air recycling systems are working better." "That's weird," Minho said. What do you think is causing it? I don't know, Jiho admitted. But I'm going to keep monitoring the data. The real discovery happened by accident 2 weeks later. Someone was fixing a broken air filter in the medical wing when she cut her hand on a sharp piece of metal. Blood ran down her palm as she looked for something to clean the wound. Are you hurt? A weak voice asked. Soman turned to see a Cathari patient watching her from a nearby bed. The Cathari looked like a cross between a cat and a bird, with soft fur and small wings. This one was clearly dying from the withering plague. Its fur had lost its color, and its breathing was shallow. Just a small cut, Soman said, wrapping her hand in a cloth she found. I'll be fine. She sat down next to the patient's bed to rest for a moment. The Cathari's large eyes looked sad and tired. What's your name? Soman asked. Kayla, the patient whispered. I miss my home. Soman felt sorry for the dying alien. Without thinking, she reached out and gently touched Kayla's furry arm with her uninjured hand. I'm sure it's beautiful. They sat together quietly for several minutes. Slowly, Soman noticed that Kayla's breathing seemed to get stronger. The Cathari's eyes became brighter and some color returned to its fur. I feel better, Kayla said in surprise. Soman looked around, wondering if a doctor had given the patient some new medicine, but they were alone in this part of the medical wing. She looked back at Kayla, who was now sitting up in bed for the first time in days. That's impossible, Soman whispered. But the change was real. Over the next hour, Kayla continued to improve. When Dr. Yeltsin, the station's head of medicine, came to check on patients, he could not believe what he saw. This patient was dying yesterday, he said, staring at his scanner. Now the cellular damage is actually healing. Word spread quickly through the station. By the next morning, Dr. Minho found himself in the middle of the biggest medical mystery he had ever encountered. Something had healed a patient that everyone thought was going to die, and the only thing that had changed was that a human had spent time with them. We need to test this, Minho said to his human colleagues as they gathered in his lab. If there's even a small chance that we somehow help that patient get better, we need to understand how. None of them could have imagined what they were about to discover. They thought they were just humans working alongside aliens in space. They had no idea that they carried within themselves the power to heal diseases that had killed millions across the galaxy. The real work was just beginning. Dr. Minho Kim stood in front of the medical scanner, staring at the results for the third time. The data made no sense. Kayla, the Cathari patient, was not just getting better. The alien was completely healed. Every trace of the withering plague was gone from Kayla's system. The cellular damage that should have taken months to repair had fixed itself overnight. Run the scan again, Minho told the medical technician. A nervous Eltari with silver skin and large black eyes. Sir, I have run it 5 times already, the technician said. The results are the same. This patient shows no signs of disease. Minho rubbed his forehead. In his 15 years as a doctor, he had never seen anything like this. Diseases did not just disappear, especially not one as deadly as the withering plague. Soman Lee sat quietly in the corner of the medical bay. She had been there since early morning, watching as doctor after doctor examined Kayla and shook their heads in confusion. Her bandaged hand rested in her lap, and she kept thinking about the moment she had touched the dying alien. Soman, Minho said, turning to her, I need you to tell me exactly what happened yesterday. Every detail. She nodded and took a deep breath. I was fixing the air filter over there. The metal was old and sharp. When I cut my hand, Kayla asked if I was hurt. I sat down next to the bed and we talked for a few minutes. I touched Kayla's arm to comfort them. That's all. How long did you touch the patient? Asked Dr. Yeltsin, the station's head of medicine. He was a tall Vorthak with gray skin and no hair. Maybe 10 minutes, Somin said. I didn't think it was important. Dr. Doyun Zhang arrived at the medical bay just as they were discussing the incident. He was the station's psychologist, a calm man who had joined the crew 2 months ago. Unlike the others, he did not look surprised by what had happened. I think I might know what's going on, Doyun said quietly. I've been studying the behavior changes on the station since more humans arrived. The patterns are very interesting. He pulled out a data pad and showed them several charts. Look at these reports. Workplace efficiency is up 30%. Interspecies conflicts have dropped by half. Even the plants in the botanical section are growing faster than normal. What does that have to do with Kayla getting better? Dr. Yeltsin asked. I think humans are affecting everyone and everything on this station, Doyen explained. Not through technology or medicine, but through some kind of biological field that we don't understand yet. Minho frowned. That sounds like science fiction. So did space travel 1,000 years ago, Doyen replied. We know that some species can sense electromagnetic fields or communicate through pheromones. Maybe humans have abilities we never discovered because we only lived around other humans. Nara Choi joined them, carrying a stack of communication reports. I've been getting strange messages from other parts of the station, she said. Alien workers are asking if more humans have arrived. They say they feel better, happier, more energetic. Jiho Park appeared in the doorway looking excited. I found something in the computer data, he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. The station's environmental sensors have been detecting unusual readings since our human crew expanded. Small changes in air composition, electromagnetic patterns, even gravitational fluctuations. What kind of changes? Minho asked. It's hard to explain, Jiho said, scrolling through data on his tablet. The changes are tiny, but they're centered around areas where humans spend the most time. It's like we're broadcasting some kind of signal. Dr. Yeltsin crossed his arms. This is all very interesting, but we need proof. We can't base medical decisions on theories and coincidences. Then let's test it, Minho said. We have other plague patients. If Somin is willing, we can try a controlled experiment. Everyone looked at Somin. She was quiet for a moment, thinking about the dying aliens in the medical wing. If there's a chance I can help them, I have to try. They set up the test carefully. Isel Nam, a medical technician who had arrived on the station just 2 days ago, volunteered to help. She was young and eager to make a difference. The doctors chose 3 plague patients who were in the early stages of the disease. I want you to spend 1 hour with each patient, Minho explained to Isel. Talk to them. Hold their hands if they're comfortable with it, just be present. We'll monitor their vital signs and run blood tests before and after. Isul nodded nervously. What if nothing happens? Then we'll know this was just a coincidence, Minho said. But if something does happen, we might have found the most important medical discovery in galactic history. The first patient was a young Rillan, a species that looked like walking flowers with colorful petals for hair. The Rillan was weak and had trouble speaking. Isul sat beside the bed and gently took the patient's hand. What's your favorite thing about your home planet? Isul asked softly. As they talked, the medical monitors began to show changes. The patient's heart rate became steadier. Brain activity increased. Most surprisingly, blood tests showed that the plague markers in the patient's system were decreasing. The second patient was a Drexani, a bear-like creature with thick brown fur. This patient was more advanced in the disease and could barely stay awake. Isil placed her hand on the patient's forehead and hummed a soft earth song her grandmother had taught her. The results were even more dramatic. The patient's breathing improved within minutes. Cellular regeneration began immediately. By the end of the hour, the Drexani was sitting up and asking for food. The third test subject was a Cathari like Kayla, but this one was near death. The patient's family had already been called to say goodbye. Isil sat with the dying alien and simply held their hand, tears running down her face as she felt their pain. Something incredible happened. Not only did the patient begin to heal, but the healing was faster and more complete than with the other patients. It was as if Isol's emotional connection had made the effect stronger. The scans show complete cellular repair, Dr. Yeltsin said, his voice shaking with excitement. This patient should be dead, but instead they're healthier than they've been in months. Doyen made an important observation. Isol, how did you feel during each test? Different each time, she said, wiping her eyes. With the first patient, I was curious and hopeful. With the second, I felt determined to help. But with the third patient, I felt their suffering as if it was my own. I wanted so badly for them to live. That's it, Doyen said. The healing effect gets stronger when humans feel genuine compassion and emotional connection. It's not just physical contact, it's about caring. Commander Tae-hyun-oh arrived at the medical bay as news of the successful tests spread through the station. He was a serious man in his 50s who had served in the Earth Space Force before taking command of the station's human operations. Dr. Kim, he said formally, I need a full report on what happened here. Word is already spreading to other sections of the station, and I'm getting communications from alien governments asking questions. Minho realized that their discovery was about to change everything. Commander, it appears that humans have a natural ability to heal other species. We can literally cure diseases that alien medicine cannot treat. How is that possible? Commander O asked. We don't fully understand it yet, Minho admitted, but the evidence is clear. Human presence, especially combined with emotional compassion, can heal alien diseases at the cellular level. Nara looked worried. What happens when the rest of the galaxy finds out about this? Commander O was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the stars. That's what I'm afraid of, he said finally. This kind of power, it will make humans either the most loved or the most hunted species in the galaxy. In the medical bay, the 3 test patients were sitting up in their beds, talking and laughing with their families. None of them showed any signs of the withering plague. They had been dying just hours before, and now they were completely healthy. Dr. Yeltsin approached Minho with tears in his eyes. In 40 years of medicine, I have watched thousands of patients die from this plague. Today, for the first time, I have hope that we can save them all. But Minho was thinking about Commander O's words. If humans could heal any alien disease, every sick being in the galaxy would want access to human healers. Earth's small population of 10 billion people could never meet that demand. And some alien species might decide that humans were too valuable to remain free. As he watched Isol comfort another patient who had just been brought to the medical bay, Minho realized that they had discovered something that would change the course of galactic history. The question was whether it would save the galaxy or destroy it. The other humans gathered around him, all thinking the same thing. They had come to the station as researchers and support staff. Now they might be the key to ending suffering across 1,000 worlds, or they might become the most sought-after prisoners in the universe. The communication array on Station Epsilon 7 had never been so busy. Messages flooded in from across the galaxy as word spread about the human healing abilities. Nara Choi worked around the clock, trying to manage the thousands of requests, demands, and pleas that arrived every hour. Another message from the Cathari High Council, Nara said tiredly to Commander O. They're offering us their entire trade fleet in exchange for 10 human healers. Commander O rubbed his temples. It had been only 1 week since Dr. Minho's team published their findings, and already the galaxy had gone crazy. What about Earth Command? Any word from home? Minister Hyejin Ko is coming here personally, Nara said. Her ship should arrive tomorrow. She's bringing a full diplomatic team. On Earth, Minister Ko was facing the biggest crisis in human history. Her office was filled with alien ambassadors, all demanding immediate access to human healers. The small, elegant woman sat behind her desk, trying to maintain calm while chaos erupted around her. Minister Ko, said the Vorthak ambassador, his gray skin darker than usual with stress. My people are dying. We have 14 colonies affected by various plagues. We need human healers now. As do we, interrupted the Rillan representative, her petal-like hair shimmering with emotion. Our children are suffering from genetic diseases that your humans could cure in minutes. Everyone please calm down, Minister Ko said firmly. We understand the urgency, but we need time to develop proper protocols. We can't just send humans randomly across the galaxy. The Altarian ambassador stood up, his forearms gesturing wildly. Time? While we debate millions are dying, your species has the power to save them, and you're worried about protocols? Minister Ko had spent sleepless nights thinking about this exact problem. Earth had only 10 billion humans, and they were scattered across dozens of colonies. Even if every human became a healer, they could never treat all the sick aliens in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Station Epsilon 7, Dr. Sungmin Yoon arrived with the first official human medical team. He was a tall, confident man who had volunteered to leave his comfortable job on Earth to help dying aliens. With him came 12 other human doctors and nurses, all eager to test their newfound abilities. Dr. Kim, Shungmin said as he shook Minho's hand. I've read your reports. This is the most important medical discovery since antibiotics. Minho was not so optimistic. It's also the most dangerous. We're getting requests from species we've never heard of. Some of them are making threats. What kind of threats? Songmin asked. Yesterday we received a message from the Corvan Empire, Commander O explained. They said if we don't send healers to their homeworld within 1 month, they'll consider it an act of war against their dying population. Sungmin looked surprised. They can't be serious. They are. said Jiho Park, who had been monitoring all communications. "I've detected at least 6 alien fleets moving toward human space. Some claim to be coming for help. Others won't say why they're coming. The first major healing mission was to Nexus Prime, a world where the entire population was dying from a plague that had already killed half the planet. Dr. Sungmin led a team of 8 human healers on the dangerous journey to the distant world. When they arrived, the situation was worse than anyone had imagined. The aliens of Nexus Prime were a gentle, artistic people who looked like living crystals. Their cities were beautiful, but they were filled with the dying. The local hospitals were overflowing, and mass graves dotted the landscape. "How many patients are we talking about?" asked Dr. Yoonji, one of Seungmin's team members. "About 3 million in the capital city alone," said Prime Healer Zektar, the planet's chief medical officer. His crystalline body was cracked and dim from the plague. "We have perhaps 2 weeks before our society completely collapses." Seungmin divided his team across the planet's major population centers. They worked 18 hours a day, moving from patient to patient using their healing abilities to cure the dying aliens. The results were miraculous. Within hours of human contact, even the sickest patients were completely healed. But the work took a heavy toll on the humans. Dr. Yoonji was the first to notice the side effects. "I'm having nightmares," she told Seungmin after a particularly long day. "I dream about all the pain I've absorbed from the patients." "I feel it too," admitted Dr. Jaewon, another team member. "It's like their suffering becomes part of me." Seungmin realized they were experiencing something no human had faced before. The healing ability didn't just cure aliens. It somehow connected human healers to their patients' pain and emotions. The more compassion they felt, the stronger the healing, but also the greater the psychological burden. Despite the personal cost, the mission was a complete success. In just 2 weeks, the human team had cured the entire population of Nexus Prime. Not only did they eliminate the plague, but they also healed genetic disorders and chronic illnesses that had affected the crystal aliens for thousands of years. The grateful population of Nexus Prime declared the humans to be living gods. They built statues in their honor and offered them anything they wanted. But Seungmin and his team just wanted to go home and rest. Back on Earth, the success of the Nexus Prime mission made everything worse. If 8 humans could save an entire planet in 2 weeks, imagine what hundreds of humans could do. The demands for human healers increased dramatically. Won Ho-shin, a military strategist working for Earth Defense, had been warning about this exact scenario. He stood in Minister Ko's office pointing at a holographic map of human space. "Look at these ship movements," he said. 3 different alien fleets are approaching our colonies. They all claim to be peaceful, but they're heavily armed. "What are you suggesting?" Minister Ko asked. "Some species aren't willing to wait for us to send healers voluntarily," Wonho said grimly. "They're planning to take them by force." The fears became reality when the colony world of New Sol was attacked by ships from the desperate Thexian Empire. The Thexians didn't want to hurt the humans. They wanted to capture them alive to use as healers for their dying homeworld. The attack was brief but effective. The Thexians used sleeping gas to knock out the human colonists, then loaded 300 humans onto their ships and fled before Earth's defense forces could respond. News of the kidnapping spread across human space like wildfire. Suddenly, every human colony was a potential target. Parents kept their children indoors, and many humans began asking to be relocated to heavily defended worlds. On a deep space transport ship, philosopher Eunbi Song was writing frantically in her journal. She had been traveling between colonies, studying how the healing discovery was affecting human society. "We stand at a crossroads," she wrote. "Our species has been given the power to heal the galaxy's suffering. But with that power comes a terrible responsibility. Do we have the right to refuse help to dying aliens? Do they have the right to force us to help them?" She paused, looking out at the stars through her cabin window. "Perhaps the question isn't whether we can heal the galaxy. Perhaps the question is whether we can survive the burden of being healers." Back on Station Epsilon 7, Hanabe arrived with disturbing news from the trade routes. She was a merchant who had spent years traveling between human and alien worlds, and she had seen something that worried her. "There's a black market forming," she told Dr. Minho. "Some humans are selling their healing services for enormous profits. I saw a young man on Trader's Point charging alien nobles 1,000,000 credits for an hour of healing touch. That's horrible, Yusul said. She had become the station's most skilled healer, able to cure almost any disease with just a few minutes of contact. It gets worse, Hana continued. Some alien crime syndicates are buying humans and forcing them to work as healers. They're treating people like valuable machines instead of living beings. The situation was spiraling out of control. What had started as a miraculous discovery was turning into a galactic crisis. Humans were being worshipped, kidnapped, bought, and sold. Some aliens saw them as saviors, others as commodities, and still others as a threat to the natural order. Commander O received an urgent message from Earth Command. All human healers are to return to Earth immediately, he announced to the medical team. The government is implementing emergency protocols to protect our people. But Dr. Shungmin, who had just returned from Nexus Prime, shook his head. We can't abandon the patients here. There are still hundreds of aliens on this station who need our help. The safety of humans comes first, Commander O said firmly. Does it? Asked Dr. Minho quietly. If we have the power to save lives and we choose not to use it, what does that make us? It was a question that would haunt humanity as the galaxy descended into chaos over the most precious resource ever discovered. Human compassion. Admiral Jinseo Moon stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Harmony, watching as dozens of alien fleets converged on the Sol system. His tactical display showed red dots representing hostile ships, green dots for friendly vessels, and yellow dots for neutral forces that could go either way. There were far more red dots than green ones. Admiral, his communications officer reported, the Korthax fleet has just dropped out of hyperspace near Mars. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Any word from our allies? Jinseo asked. The Ketheri and Rillan fleets are holding position to defend Earth, the officer replied. But the Vorthak and Altarian governments have declared neutrality. They won't fight against us, but they won't help either. Jinseo had spent 30 years in the Earth Space Force, but he had never faced a situation like this. The enemy wasn't coming to conquer Earth for its resources or territory. They wanted to enslave humanity's most precious gift, their ability to heal. On Earth, President Sang-Hee Cho was meeting with emergency council members in an underground bunker. The elegant woman had only been in office for 6 months, and now she faced the most important decision in human history. Madam President, said General Park, our defense systems are ready, but we're outnumbered 5-1. We might hold them off for a few days, but they'll eventually break through. What about the evacuation plans? Sankey asked. We can get maybe 500,000 people off-world before the fighting starts, replied Transportation Minister Kim. But that leaves 9.5 billion humans to face whatever comes. In a small medical facility on Earth's moon, young Minji Seo was treating her last patient before the expected invasion. She was only 22 years old, a medical student who had volunteered for healer training when the crisis began. Unlike the exhausted veteran healers, she still had hope. Dr. Seo, said her patient, an elderly Kithari diplomat named Veltar, I have lived long enough to see many wars. They all start because different groups refuse to understand each other. What do you mean? Minji asked as she gently touched the diplomat's arm, healing his chronic pain. The Korthax believe humans are selfish for limiting access to healing, Veltar explained. Humans believe other species are greedy for demanding so much. But what if both sides are wrong? Minji paused her healing session.
How could both sides be wrong?
What if the answer isn't about who controls human healers? The old diplomat suggested. What if the answer is making it so humans aren't the only ones who can heal? The idea hit Minji like lightning. She had been so focused on using her healing abilities that she had never wondered if others could learn them too. Do you think it's possible to teach healing to non-humans? I don't know, Veltar said thoughtfully. But wouldn't it be worth trying to find out? Meanwhile, in a hidden monastery on the outer world of New Tibet, something remarkable was happening. Dongan Kang, a former engineer who had become a monk after experiencing severe empathic burnout, was meditating with a group of alien students. Donghan had discovered that meditation and compassion training could help human healers manage the psychological burden of their abilities. But during his sessions with alien visitors, he noticed something unexpected. Some of the aliens were beginning to show small healing abilities of their own. Focus on the suffering of others, Donghan told his students. A mixed group of humans and aliens. Don't try to fix it or cure it. Just feel it completely, and let your compassion flow toward those who hurt. One of his students, a young Drexani named Kekan, was concentrating intensely. Slowly, a warm glow began to emanate from the bear-like alien's hands. The same kind of energy that human healers produced. I can feel it, Kekan whispered in amazement. The healing power is there inside me. Donghan smiled. He had been working on this theory for months, and now he had proof. The healing ability wasn't unique to human biology. It was something that could be cultivated through proper training in empathy and compassion. Back in the Sol system, the first shots of the war were about to be fired when every communication channel in the system suddenly activated at once. A young human woman appeared on screens throughout the fleet, both human and alien ships. My name is Minji Seo, she said calmly. I'm speaking to all the fleets gathered here, to all the species represented, to everyone who has been affected by this crisis. Supreme War Leader Korth of the Korthax Empire was furious. Cut that transmission, he ordered his crew. Sir, it's coming from everywhere at once, his communications officer replied. Someone is broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously. On Earth, President Sanghi watched the broadcast with surprise. This wasn't part of any plan her government had approved. I know why you're all here, Minji continued, her voice reaching millions of beings across the solar system. You're here because people are dying and you believe humans have the only cure. You're here because you think we're selfish for not sharing our healing abilities with everyone who needs them. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was filled with compassion. You're all right. People are dying and we do have the power to heal them. But you're also wrong about something important. The transmission switched to show Donghan's monastery, where dozens of aliens were successfully performing healing techniques they had learned from human teachers. Healing isn't something only humans can do, Minji explained. It's something any being can learn if they're willing to cultivate genuine compassion and empathy. The power doesn't come from human biology. It comes from caring so deeply about others' suffering that you're willing to take it into yourself. She showed more footage. Cathari healers helping Vorthak patients, Rillan doctors learning to channel healing energy, even Korthax warriors discovering they could heal instead of hurt. We've been approaching this crisis all wrong, Minji said. Instead of fighting over who controls human healers, we should be working together to train healers from every species. Instead of seeing healing as a resource to be hoarded or stolen, we should see it as a skill to be shared. Across the fleets, commanders and crew members watched in stunned silence. The idea was so simple, yet none of them had considered it. Supreme War Leader Korth was about to order his fleet to attack anyway, when one of his own officers spoke up. Sir, request permission to try the healing training. My daughter is dying from the crystal plague. If there's even a chance I could learn to heal her myself. Other Korthax crew members began voicing similar requests. Soon, even the most militant members of the invasion fleet were asking to learn healing instead of demanding human slaves. President Sanghi realized this was the moment to act. She opened communication channels with all the fleets. To all ships and all species gathered here, she announced, Earth formally proposes the creation of the Galactic Healing Accord. Over the next several hours, as weapons powered down and ships moved into peaceful formations, the terms of the accord were negotiated. Instead of war, the galaxy would have cooperation. Instead of enslaving human healers, they would train healers from every willing species. The accord established several key principles. Healing abilities could not be bought or sold. No being could be forced to use healing powers against their will. All species would have equal access to healing training. And most importantly, the focus would shift from curing disease to preventing suffering through compassion and understanding. Dr. Kyungjae was released from Zephyria and became the first director of the new Galactic Healing Academy. Dr. Minho left his research to help design the curriculum that would teach beings throughout the galaxy to heal not just with technology, but with genuine care for others. The former black market in human healers disappeared overnight as alien governments realized they could train their own people instead of kidnapping humans. Yunahan's healer protection movement evolved into a support network for healers of all species, who needed help managing the emotional burden of their abilities. 1 year later, the galaxy was a very different place. Healing academies operated on hundreds of worlds staffed by teachers from dozens of species. The techniques varied. Some aliens found meditation most effective. Others used music or art to cultivate compassion, but the results were the same. Boram Young was 7 years old when she started school at the Integrated Academy on New Seoul. Unlike the previous generation, she grew up learning alongside young aliens from many different species. Her best friend was a Cathari named Pipka, and together they practiced healing techniques on sick plants in the school garden. "Teacher," Boram asked during one lesson, "why did the grown-ups almost fight a war over healing when it's so easy to learn?" Her teacher, a wise old Vorthak named Grelanth, smiled. "Because sometimes, little one, the hardest thing to learn isn't how to heal, it's how to share." The withering plague that had started the whole crisis was now just a historical footnote. Not because human healers had cured it, but because healers from dozens of species had worked together to understand its cause and develop both cures and prevention methods. Dr. Sungmin, now director of the Earth Healing Center, often thought about those early days when humans believed they were the only ones who could heal. "We thought our gift made us special," he would tell new students. Dr. Kyungji Lim never saw the attack coming. He was walking through the beautiful crystal gardens of Zephyria, studying the planet's unique plant life for his research, when the Zephyrian soldiers surrounded him. The tall, blue-skinned aliens moved silently, their faces hidden behind ceremonial masks. "Dr. Lim," said their leader in careful English, "you will come with us. Our emperor is dying." Kyungjae raised his hands peacefully. "I understand your emperor is sick, but kidnapping isn't the answer. Let me contact my government and we can arrange proper medical assistance." "There is no time," the soldier said. "Our emperor has hours, perhaps less. You will heal him now, or our empire dies with him." They took Kyungjae to the imperial palace, a massive structure made of living coral that grew from the ocean floor into the sky. Inside, the dying emperor lay on a bed of soft moss, his once bright blue skin now gray and cracked. Dozens of Zephyrian doctors surrounded him, but their medicine was useless against the strange disease eating away at his body. "Please," whispered the emperor's daughter, tears flowing down her face. "My father has ruled wisely for 200 years. He united our people and brought peace to our world. Without him, civil war will destroy everything." Kyungjae looked at the dying ruler and felt the familiar pull of compassion that came with his healing abilities. He knew he was being held against his will. But he also knew he was probably the only being in the galaxy who could save this alien's life. He placed his hands on the emperor's chest and let his healing power flow. Within minutes, the emperor's color returned and his breathing became strong again. The court physicians stared in amazement as their leader sat up for the first time in weeks. "Incredible," the emperor said, looking at his own hands in wonder. "I feel stronger than I have in years." The Zephyrians were overjoyed, but Kyungjae felt sick. Not physically, the healing had worked perfectly, but knowing he had been forced to use his abilities made him feel dirty, like a tool rather than a person. "Now will you let me go?" he asked. The emperor's expression became sad. "I'm sorry, Dr. Lim, my people have suffered from genetic diseases for generations. Now that we know you can heal them, I cannot let you leave. You will be treated with great honor, but you must stay and help our people." "That's slavery," Kyungjae said quietly. "That's survival," the emperor replied. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Hanabe witnessed the worst of it on the trading station at Nexus Hub. She watched in horror as alien merchants bought and sold humans like livestock. "Fresh healer from Earth," shouted a Corvan trader. "Young, strong, can cure 12 different diseases. Starting bid is 5 million credits." The human being sold was a teenager named Minjae, who had been kidnapped from a colony world just weeks after discovering his healing abilities. His eyes were empty and defeated as alien bidders examined him like a piece of equipment. Hana tried to intervene, but station security stopped her. "This is a legal sale under Nexus Hub law," the security chief told her. "The boy signed a contract. He's 17 years old," Hana protested. "He can't sign binding contracts. Age of majority varies by species," the chief replied coldly. "The contract is valid." Hana realized that some alien governments had quickly changed their laws to make the human healing trade legal. Desperate planets were willing to sacrifice their morals to save their people. Even more disturbing were the humans who participated willingly. On the luxury world of Arcturus Prime, wealthy aliens paid millions of credits for healing sessions from human wellness consultants. Some humans had become incredibly rich by charging enormous fees for their abilities. Dr. Gunwoo An, a researcher studying the psychological effects of healing, made a disturbing discovery on the medical research station where he worked. He had been monitoring human healers for months, and the results frightened him. The data is clear, he told his colleagues during a secure video call with Earth. Extended use of healing abilities is causing severe psychological damage to our people. He pulled up brain scans and psychological profiles on his computer. Look at these results. Human healers who work more than 10 hours a week show signs of severe empathic burnout. They begin to absorb not just the physical pain of their patients, but their emotional suffering as well. Dr. Minho, listening from station Epsilon 7, leaned forward with concern. What kind of symptoms are we seeing? Depression, anxiety, and complete emotional exhaustion, Gunwoo explained. Some healers report feeling the pain of every patient they have ever treated, even months later. 3 healers in my study group have attempted suicide. The worst case was Dr. Yunji, who had been part of the successful mission to Nexus Prime. After returning to Earth, she could not sleep without experiencing nightmares about alien suffering. She stopped eating and rarely spoke to anyone. I can feel them all, she whispered to Gunwoo during one of their sessions. Every alien I've healed is still inside my head. Their pain, their fear, their sadness, it's all mine now. Yuna Han, a former healer who had experienced empathic burnout, became the leader of a growing movement to protect human healers. She had quit healing after only 2 months when the psychological burden became too much to bear. We're not machines, she said at a rally on Earth. We're not magical, cure dispensers that aliens can use whenever they want. We're human beings, and we have the right to choose how we use our abilities. Her movement grew rapidly as more humans realized the true cost of their healing powers. Families began hiding children who showed healing abilities, afraid they would be kidnapped or forced into service. But the galaxy's desperation was growing stronger than human resistance. The militant Korthax Empire, a warlike species that had conquered dozens of worlds, made the ultimate threat. Supreme War Leader Korth announced his intentions during a broadcast that reached every inhabited world. The humans possess the cure to suffering itself, yet they hoard it while billions die. This is an act of war against all living beings. If humanity will not share their healers willingly, we will take them by force. The Korthax Empire began mobilizing their massive fleet, thousands of warships designed for conquest. Their plan was simple: invade human space, capture as many humans as possible, and force them to work as healers for the entire galaxy. Minister He-Jin Ko received the declaration of war while meeting with Earth's Defense Council. The small conference room fell silent as they realized what was happening. How long until their fleet reaches our core worlds? She asked Admiral Singh, the head of Earth's Space Forces. 3 weeks, maybe 4, Singh replied grimly. We have good defenses, but the Korthax fleet is enormous. They're bringing everything they have. What about our alien allies? Ko asked hopefully. That's the problem, Singh said. Half of our allies support the Korthax position. They believe we're being selfish by limiting access to human healers. The other half are staying neutral because they don't want to anger the Korthax. On Station Epsilon 7, the human medical team received orders to evacuate immediately. But Dr. Minho looked around the medical bay, where dozens of alien patients were still receiving treatment from his people. We can't just leave them, Isol said, tears in her eyes. Some of these patients will die without continued healing sessions. And we might die if we stay, Commander O replied. The Korthax have announced that this station is a primary target. Salmon Lee, who had discovered the healing abilities by accident, spoke up quietly. Is this what we wanted when we found out we could heal people? To become the cause of a galactic war? Dr. Seungmin, who had returned from successful missions on 3 different worlds, looked exhausted. The constant healing had aged him years in just months. I joined this program to save lives, he said. But how many lives will be lost in the war we've started? As the Korthax fleet moved closer to human space, panic spread through both human and alien populations. Some humans volunteered to surrender themselves to avoid war, while others demanded that Earth fight to protect their freedom. The healing ability that had seemed like humanity's greatest gift was becoming their greatest curse. In trying to heal the galaxy's pain, they had created suffering on a scale never seen before. Dr. Kyungjae, still imprisoned on Zephyria, managed to send a secret message to Earth before his captors discovered it. Find another way. The power to heal must not become the power to enslave. If we cannot solve this crisis, our gift will destroy both us and those we try to help. As alien fleets gathered and human colonies prepared for invasion, the galaxy teetered on the edge of the most devastating war in its history. The question was no longer whether humans could heal the galaxy's diseases, but whether anyone would survive the cure.